Hi, welcome to the webinar about self-licensing. My name's Mary-Ann Noonan and I'm a Regional Manager with Jigsaw Support Services. Jigsaw Support Services provides a range of services to financial planning practices who have their own AFSL. Today the webinar is going to be about how you get your own AFSL, and I'm joined by Sam Hills and Frank Varga from Compact Compliance and Training, who are going to talk you through this.
Hi, I'm Sam Hills. You'll hear in a moment from my colleague Frank Varga. We're from Compact Compliance and Training, and as Mary-Ann mentioned earlier, we work with Jigsaw to provide compliance and training services to licensees. Most importantly for you guys though, we also help businesses obtain their own AFSLs. I'm a consultant with Compact, and in the early years of the licensing regime, I prepared a fair number of license applications. Now my role is more in the reviewing of applications once they've been put together by Frank, who's done a lot of the hard work. As well as working on license applications, I also run training and prepare a fair amount of content for our monthly regulatory update service, TREX. I'm also a lawyer with our law firm, Holly Nethercote.
Hi, I'm Frank Varga. I head up the licence application team here at Compact. I held roles at licensing in ASIC for 22 years and spent the last 16 years being a senior manager or senior specialist in that licensing team. So I've had a lot of experience in putting together licence applications in my time.
Right, so what we're going to cover today, we've obviously been introducing ourselves. We're going to have a look at why firms would choose self-licensing in the first place. Then we're going to have a bit of a look at the top 5 things you need to consider before you start applying for an AFSL. And after that, we'll go through the process of preparing a licence application, how it works, and submitting the application to ASIC. And we'll tell you a bit about how we help you in that process.
So why do practices want to go self-licensed? The businesses that we support find that they like to have more control and more freedom over their business and the decisions that they make. They do appreciate, however, that important decisions need to be made about how they operate their business, how they engage more staff and expand to other locations, how to market their business, and also how they need to manage their approved product list. So when thinking about self-licensing, you really need to do your research and make sure you're fully informed about the responsibilities and obligations of running your own AFSL. So to talk more about that, we're going to hear from Sam and Frank.
So there are 5 key things you need to consider before obtaining your own AFSL. The first and probably most important of these is thinking about the authorisations that you're going to apply for under your licence. The authorisations are the bit of your licence that says what particular services you can provide, but in licensing language. So for a typical financial planner, you'd have authorisations to advise and deal. And then the licence would go on to list what products the licensee can advise and deal in relation to. And the list might include things like life insurance, securities, and superannuation, for example. What a lot of corporate authorised representatives do is to apply for a licence with the same authorisations that they already have through their existing licensee. And this has the advantage that there'll be people in the business who have the right experience to act as responsible managers in relation to the authorisations being sought under the licence. This will be really important for helping you get your licence application accepted, because responsible managers are a really critical part of the licence application process. Now, if you need help determining what particular authorisations to seek under your licence, then our law firm, Holly Nethercote, can give you legal advice on that before you get started on your application.
And now we will just go into the processes and governance requirements. You'll need to think about what compliance systems you're going to have in place under your own licence. We provide a template compliance manual to you as a part of our licence application package. This will give you a lot of guidance on what you need to have in place. You'll need to tailor this document so it suits your own business. You don't have to show this document to ASIC, but you will need to have it in place behind the scenes and to follow processes set out in it. You'll also need to follow some of the processes set out in the manual before you even get your licence. For example, you'll need to step through a risk management process, identifying risks and working out how to manage each one of them. You'll need to record this work in a risk register, which we also provide as part of our compliance package. And you'll have an ongoing obligation to keep this register up to date once you have your licence. You'll need to think about who are going to act as what we call responsible managers under the licence. This could be one or more people in your business. They are people with responsibility for day-to-day decision making in relation to the financial services provided under your licence. They have to have sufficient knowledge and skills in relation to the financial services for ASIC to accept them as RN responsible managers. And you'll also need a compliance committee, even if you are a small business. You choose how often it meets and who is a member of it. The compliance manual can give you some guidance on this. And you'll also need to nominate a person who will be responsible for compliance too.
You also need to think about staffing and relevant training. There are some key obligations for licensees in relation to these topics, and the compliance manual is designed to address some of these. One obligation is that you have to have adequate human resources to provide the financial services under your licence. So you have to have a way of making sure that you have enough advisors and admin staff to do the work you commit to doing. But you also have to have enough people in the organisation to be able to oversee the provision of the financial services and to check that staff are complying with financial services laws. To some extent, you can use outsourced providers for some of this, like external compliance experts to do SOA audits, for example, but it does help if you can manage a fair bit of this in-house. Then you'll also need to have training plans in place for advisors and responsible managers. They have obligations to keep their professional development up to date, and you'll already be familiar with these requirements for advisors in relation to RG 146. There are also broader obligations in the legislation that talk about maintaining competence, training, and making sure your representatives comply with the financial services laws, and training is one way you meet these requirements. There's also a condition in the licence itself, typically, that talks about training requirements for advisors, and this is what hooks in the RG 146 requirements.
And now we'll discuss compliance and reporting systems. So there is a lot to know and a lot to do before you strike out on your own. The key thing is to have your compliance framework in place. As we've said, having our template compliance manual can help you get this set up. You'll need to describe aspects of it to ASIC in your licence application. Longer term, you'll need to consider how you will check that your compliance arrangements are adequate and are actually working to make sure that you meet your licence obligations. Many licensees do this via an annual licensee review conducted by an external provider. In fact, the licence application form asks how often you plan to have your compliance arrangements reviewed.
The fifth key area that you need to consider is costs. You'll incur quite a few costs early on. So there are fees for assistance with the licence application, and this is a package with a set fee, which also includes the template compliance manual for you to use in your business. Then ASIC also has its own fees that it charges for lodgement of a licence application, and we'll talk about those in a bit more detail in a sec. And then there are other fees that you'll need to pay, or in the case of PI insurance, premiums, but also fees for membership of an external dispute resolution scheme. Many of you will be familiar with FOS, the current scheme, which is in the process of shifting to the Australian Financial Complaints Authority, or AFCA. But either way, you'll still need to pay membership fees for that. Then you'll have a whole lot of ongoing fees once your licence is operational for things like product research, recruitment, compliance services, and also annual financial audit, which is required under the licence. Jigsaw can help you with some of those services. You also need to be aware that ASIC will start charging an annual levy to licensees from 2019. This will consist of a flat base with an additional amount based on the number of advisors you have. This is a new levy introduced to help fund ASIC for the work it does in each particular sector of the financial services industry.
Once you've decided to go ahead, it is now time to apply for an AFSL. The first step is to complete the application form and proofs. The application is made up of a form which we complete electronically and also supporting documents called proofs. We complete the proofs together with you based on templates we have prepared. The two key proofs are, firstly, the table of expertise, which would detail your knowledge and skills to advise and deal in the financial products that you intend to apply for. The second proof is a financial resource statement that details how you will comply with the financial requirements that will be imposed upon your licence. The second step is to ensure that your compliance manual meets the requirements, but like we said earlier, you have to have the compliance manual in place, but you don't need to submit it as part of the licence application. On occasion, ASIC can ask for this as part of the requisition process, but it's rare. In any case, you have put your hand on your heart as part of the application and you say that you have documented the compliance procedures in place. Next, you'll need to obtain a number of checks for each of your responsible managers. You'll need to provide ASIC with police checks and bankruptcy checks for each nominated responsible manager, which you can get from external providers. Also, you need to provide 2 business references that are in a special format prescribed by ASIC. You just can't use any normal business reference. ASIC has prescribed a special templated business reference that it requires you to detail your experience across all the authorisations that you intend to apply for. We can provide you with one of these template business references to assist you. All right, in terms of qualifications, you need to provide copies of each responsible manager's degrees and diplomas and any training undertaken under Regulatory Guide 146. Also, it would be quite useful to provide copies of relevant professional memberships, such as membership of the FPA. The fourth step is preparing cash flow projections. There are a whole lot of financial documents you will need to submit. These include a signed profit and loss statement and balance sheet, as well as cash flow projections. The balance sheet and profit and loss will need to be no more than 3 months old. For a financial planner, you will need to demonstrate that you are solvent, so you need to review these financial statements before submitting them with your licence application. The cash flow projections are a month-by-month projection of your cash flows for a period of 3 months. You'll also need to document the calculations and assumptions on which the projected inflow and outflows have been based. If your cash flows detail that you intend to rely on funding from a related party, ASIC will most likely require letters of support from that related party. We can provide you with templates to assist you in preparing these documents. Once you actually have your licence, you will need to continue to maintain rolling 3-month projections. In other words, at any given point in time, you must have cash flow projections covering the next 3 months. Step number 5 is to join an external dispute resolution scheme. Sam talked a bit earlier about how you need to join an external dispute resolution scheme. You'll need to show proof of your membership to ASIC as part of your licence application. That means you'll need to join before you actually get your licence. Last but not least is obtaining PI insurance. You can arrange the PI insurance during the licence assessment period, but the PI insurance will need to comply with ASIC requirements. Prior to granting the licence, ASIC will request that you complete a questionnaire about the insurance that addresses ASIC's requirements, and also provide a copy of the certificate of currency from your insurer. So, there's a lot to do.
Right, so let's have a look at what's involved in terms of time. Firstly, you generally need to allow about 3 months to work with us preparing the application and getting everything into place. Of course, that time frame depends a bit on the time and resources that you're able to put in from your end, so you have some control over that time frame. And then once we submit the licence application, you need to allow up to about 6 months for ASIC to assess the application. Although one of our applications recently was assessed in 2 months, but that's pretty unusual. We've got another one that we submitted 3 months ago that we still haven't heard back on. So overall, from the beginning of the process to getting your licence, you really need to allow somewhere between 5 and 9 months.
So there's a lot to consider and a lot to do in applying for your own licence. The good thing is, by using Compact compliance and training and Jigsaw services, you'll have a lot of help and support in both getting your licence and then managing it going forward. We can provide you with template compliance manual and work with you to submit your licence application at a significant discount rate negotiated by Jigsaw. We can also give you a special Jigsaw rate if you subscribe to our monthly regulatory update service called T-Rex. And we also provide training to responsible managers of Jigsaw practices at their annual Jigsaw Business Forum. But if you need training outside of this, we can provide this also at a discounted rate. We have 16 years of preparing licence applications and are really familiar with the financial planning industry. And we also submit a number of applications with ASIC each year and have an understanding as to what ASIC expects of each type of licence applicant. The other advantage of using Compact is that if there's a particular issue with your application around what authorisations you need, for example, we have our law firm, Holly Nethercote, who we can refer you over to get legal advice. There is an additional cost for this, but you get the efficiencies from two businesses working very closely together.
So once you've obtained your licence, the hard work really begins, and this is where Jigsaw comes along and helps you maintain that licence. There's a whole range of core services that Jigsaw provides. These include things like technology solutions. So the technology solutions part of our offer includes policy standards libraries, SOA templates, a learning and development system. There is also the compliance and audit services. So every AR in your business will have a AR audit once per year, and we also conduct an AFSL review. Professional development and education is a large part of the offer, and you'll find that there are plenty of opportunities to reach your CPD points. Technical experts are on hand to assist you with legislative inquiries and strategy work. Access to research to help you with your approved product list and any other research that you might be interested in to put your product list together. Marketing resources assist you to retain clients and attract new clients. We also collect and pay all of your revenue fortnightly and provide reporting on that revenue. And if you're looking for a new AR, we have a recruitment team to assist you with that. So there's really two benefits to using Jigsaw services. All the services are managed by one provider, saving you time in having to manage suppliers for a whole range of services. And you have a regional manager such as myself that will make sure that the services that are provided to the highest quality. So it's then time to focus on the things in your business that matter most, which are your clients. There are also a range of optional services that we provide at an extra cost. These are things like business consulting, paraplanning, vetting of plans if you should need it, some extra recruitment services, research services and marketing services. And we're always looking to add new services to our offer to provide value to our practices. So there was a lot of information in that webinar. We hope you found it really useful. Thanks for attending. I hope that you've got the information that you need, but if you haven't, feel free to contact us. Our details are on the website. And thank you to Sam and Frank for their valuable insights.